Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Awaken to Happiness Now Global Series. Thank you so much for being here with us today. If you are new to me, new to my channel, new to my show on YouTube, please do subscribe so that you can take advantage of all the current shows, all the previous shows, all the shows coming up. It is my deepest wish, desire, and intention to bring these wonderful speakers to you so that they can share their wisdom, their teachings, their experiences, their activations and processes, their healings, etc., so that we can all thrive in our lives, so that we can all awaken to happiness now. And so today, my dear friend Patrick Prohaska is back with us after a long hiatus, I feel like. So he's back, and we're going to be talking about tools and techniques for mystical consciousness. So some of what we're going to talk about today is we're going to learn how to align ourselves with the universal principles of creative power. We're going to discover 3 simple techniques that you can use today to expand your consciousness. We're going to find out how to safely access your portal to the beyond whenever you'd like. We're going to learn how to supercharge your lucid dreaming tonight. And if you are searching for a magic wand, I know I am, I sure feel like it today, find out how to be the magic wand you've been looking for. So, like I said, Patrick is back with us. But for those of you who may not know Patrick, I'll just tell you a little bit about him. He's obviously been with us many times before. We love having him. Always a high vibe, call, wonderful activations, processes, etc., healing, etc. And Patrick is an author and life coach, specializing in personal empowerment, consciousness expansion, and sexual healing. Patrick has a bachelor's degree in philosophy of science and a master's degree in the religions of ancient India, and developed the Lightbridge system of healing and personal transformation. He's the author of Brain Cells, Escape Your Mental Prisons and Dream Yourself Awake, The Power of Lucid Living, as well as a forthcoming book, Myths to Stop Living By. Patrick is available for lectures, seminars, and workshops around the globe, so he's here with us today. And when he's not teaching or communing with a client, you'll find him exploring the Colorado wilderness. So please join me in welcoming Patrick back to the show. Patrick, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a joy to be reconnecting with you after all this time. Yeah, thank you.
I know. I'm so glad you're here. I've missed your energy, to be honest, and I've just missed our connection. Life takes us on different paths and places and journeys, and so I'm glad that we are reconnecting and that you are here to wake us up, our community. Like I said, we are talking about tools and techniques for mystical consciousness, right? So before we get started into all of that, Patrick, I just want you to, if you could just share a little bit about who you are for those people who are new to you, who you are, what you were doing, and what you came, like, why did you come to this point in your life where you are doing healing, consciousness work, mystical consciousness work?
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, how did I come to this work? Well, I would say, like a lot of people who are in the group today, I was overwhelmed with the challenges that I was facing in my three-dimensional life. And I knew that there were tools available to me that could help me manage that stress, but I wasn't using them. I wasn't using them because I was in the daily grind of the work that I was doing, because it didn't feel like there was time for going out into nature or meditating or yoga or any of the other practices that would help me expand my consciousness. I was caught up in all the drama of the work that I was doing. I was a restaurant and nightclub manager in Los Angeles, before that in San Francisco. And the three-dimensional world that I was trying to navigate in order to succeed just kind of rose up and overwhelmed me. So I had a nervous breakdown. I was overwhelmed by stress. I went into a downward spiral. But in the back of my mind, I always knew that there was more available to me than just the three-dimensional experience. I'd had experiences of bliss and joy and expansiveness and astral travel and so forth in the past. And those had always uplifted me no matter what was going on in my life. And I finally decided that, I may as well make that my career. If that's my lifeline, if that's what's going to save me from all the overwhelm of my three-dimensional experience, then why not inhabit it? Why not embody it and embrace it and make it my life's work, as opposed to competing with other people for who has the nicest restaurant and all the other petty little three-dimensional games that I was stuck in at that point in my career. So I left the restaurant industry. I um, recaptured some of the studies that I had done previously on Asian religions and mystical consciousness and shamanism, breath work, yoga, all the other stuff that I had studied in the past. And I focused instead, or in addition to that, on how do you go about shifting consciousness in the human brain itself? How do you go about molding your belief systems, your expectations, your thoughts, the very energy that you radiate? How do you go about molding it in a specific direction? So that's what I've been working on the last several years. And as Shefali was saying, I took a hiatus. I had a couple of years off. It's funny how sometimes life just, needs you. I was living in California. My family was having problems in Kansas. I just felt like I needed to move back to Kansas in order to deal with a couple of family matters. And now that's over and done with, I'm getting back into the healing work again, and I'm now in Colorado. So if any of you are in Colorado, please come visit me in Colorado Springs. We'll go hiking together. Yeah.
Wonderful. And sometimes, life happens. Not
Yeah.
sometimes, life happens a lot, right? So luckily you were able to take some time and focus on some of those responsibilities, right? But now that, now you're back. So we're so happy, we're excited, because even this topic about mystical consciousness, even this topic about tools and techniques, and that's what we need. We need tools and techniques so that we can expand our consciousness, so that we can be more of, our like, embody our soul wisdom, our soul essence, and radiate that in our life, right? Instead
Yes.
of getting bogged down by the 3D,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Yes.
So because sometimes 3D can be really strong and can pull us down, lower our vibration, pull us down into the muck. But then it's like, what tools and techniques can we use to bring ourselves back up and continue to expand and do the inner work, right?
Yes. And we're at a juncture in history right now in which higher dimensional consciousness is becoming more and more available to us. In fact, we're moving into an era in which mystical consciousness will be the normal way people operate in the world. It can take, hundreds or thousands of years to kind of move into that, because we're shifting out of the age of Aquarius, or the age of Pisces, into the age of Aquarius, as all of you know. That is a radical shift, because in the age of Pisces, which we're coming out of, we primarily functioned as physical beings in a three-dimensional reality, bogged down by linear time and linear space. And our goal was to figure out how to navigate this three-dimensional world in order to create success for ourselves. And because it's a almost purely three-dimensional experience and understanding that we have of this world that we live in, and has been historically through the age of Pisces, that is, um, what we do is we believe in limited resources. We believe that we need to compete with other people in order to get more for ourselves, competing over limited resources. We believe things like power and joy and happiness and success are also limited resources. So, their entire um, business is built on the model of, in order for me to have more, other people need to have less. If other people have more, that means there's less left over for me. These are all three-dimensional ways of looking at the world. And it really isn't true when you get into higher dimensional awareness. You recognize the abundance of energy everywhere. You recognize that it doesn't diminish my power or my rights for somebody else to fully inhabit their power or their rights. It uplifts all of us. So we're moving into this new age in which we will by default have mystical awareness. Will by default see beyond the linear time and linear space into what is more, but we're not there yet. And at this point in time, because we're growing out of the age of Pisces, we as human beings in these three-dimensional DNA bodies that we have, we need to kind of force it sometimes. We need to do things in order to have that mystical consciousness. It isn't yet natural for us. But the thing is, the more you do it, the more you practice consciousness expansion and a higher dimensional experience, the more natural it becomes to you. It's easier every single time you do it until eventually it does become your natural state. And you're like way ahead of the curve in terms of where human evolution is heading right now. So I love being a part of this program. I love being part of watching this new world unfold for us. Now, one of the problems that we have right now, before we get into a question, is that there are a lot of people who are deeply, deeply invested in things being the way they are, in three-dimensional resource management and so forth. There are a lot of people that are deeply invested in the age of Pisces, and therefore they are in deep resistance to us growing into this expanded awareness. They'll say it doesn't exist. They'll say it's a scam. They'll say it's psychosis. There's something wrong with you. You're imagining it. But more than that, more than just saying that you're somehow off kilter because you're interested in expanding your consciousness, they will. There are a lot of forces at play right now which are really trying to pull us backward into a pure three-dimensional experience. So we just need to be aware of that and move beyond it. Don't let it impact us as much as it does. Don't get drawn into the arguments. Don't get drawn into the drama that tends to unfold around us, which is really designed to make you forget your three-dimensional, your higher dimensional awareness. So, yeah, it's crazy
Absolutely.
times we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. But it happens very quickly, and sometimes we don't even realize it. So just,
Mhm.
it's really important for us to stay grounded, stay present, stay aware as much as we can. Now, you coined the term like mystical consciousness or practical mysticism. What do you mean by that? What does that mean exactly?
Okay. So, well, everyone here knows what mysticism is. They know what a mystical experience is. They know that it is some sort of experience that goes beyond three dimensions. It puts you into a state of mind where you see beyond the confines of the world. And if you really inhabit it, you become liberated in a way that allows you to navigate a higher dimensional world. So you can see things holographically, you can astral project, you can travel to other places, all this sort of stuff, which, goes on in your mind. And then you come back into this three-dimensional reality and you wonder, did that really happen or not? So when I talk about practical mysticism, what I'm referring to is fully engaging in mystical activities in order to create a better life for yourself in the here and now. Because the fact of the matter is, we are in these physical bodies, we are having a three-dimensional experience. We're not here to have a non-human experience. So it's equally important in my mind to, inhabit the world and make, have an impact on the world, help other people grow, be of service to other people, and have that full three-dimensional human experience. And at the same time, be developing your mystical expansion and your ability to see beyond this three-dimensional world. If you see beyond the three-dimensional world, then things come into perspective. In this three-dimensional world, if you're stuck in it, we have the habit of blowing out of proportion little tiny things that are insignificant. And we also tend to ignore things that are of major importance. until it's too late. We don't really have perspective. We were never taught how to have perspective because we grew up in environments in which drama was interesting and chaos gave us something to do, and people were stuck in their trauma and their hurt and their pain and so forth. So we become hypersensitive. We develop allergies, and allergies can go beyond the physical. We develop triggers and a reactive way of living in this world. So if you can go into your mystical realm, do whatever it is you need to do there, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a while, and then come back into your three-dimensional life with a perspective that actually matches reality, then it becomes much easier for you to navigate the world and accomplish things and help other people. So that's why it's practical. It's practical because it helps you live in three dimensionality better. And it's fun to go into the higher dimensionality. It's always an exciting adventure. So yeah.
And
Um,
I'm glad you mentioned that part, because like I sometimes find we are trying to balance the 3D with the higher dimensions, trying to do both. Like we have, 1 foot in the 3D, 1 foot in the higher dimensions, 5D, 6D, whatever, right? And
yeah.
it's sometimes that it can feel like a struggle or a fight between the two. It's like, oh, I really want to do this, but I really got to take care of this 3D stuff, but I really want to
Mhm.
do this. This is fun. I like it. I feel good, but I gotta do the 3D stuff too. So, there's there's that I don't want to call it struggle, but there's that happening as well.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why the perspective and the awareness that you achieve in higher dimensionality is so important, because then you begin to recognize, that list of things that you need to do in the here and now, which ones are really important, which ones are actually ego driven, or they're meant to impress other people or something, and maybe you'll be just fine not doing them. You develop a deeper sense of what order they need to be done in, which one needs to be done first, and you do them more efficiently. So you just kind of slip into a groove after a while. And every now and then something comes along to knock you out of the groove, but then you find resilience that allows you to get back into it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
I forgot to mention at the beginning of the call, we are going to be taking live caller questions. So if you do have a question, you can raise your hand or type your question in the chat. We'll get to those in a little bit. Now, you know, a lot of us are working in expanding our consciousness. We are working in different higher states of consciousness when we're like channeling or doing our healing or meditating, etc. But can we consciously control our states of consciousness?
Yes. Yes, it takes a lot of practice. A lot of times it just happens spontaneously. A lot of times it happens in response to people that were around who are deeply connected energetically, and we just kind of get pulled into their wake. Sometimes it happens because of chemicals, whether they're ingested intentionally or not. Sometimes it happens through breath work. But I have had many times in my life an experience where like this vortex would just spontaneously open up next to me. And I had a choice. Do I go into the vortex, or do I walk away from it? So it can happen spontaneously, and that can be inconvenient. If you're driving down the highway and a vortex opens up next to you, it's not necessarily a good thing. But if you are sitting peacefully, having a cup of tea on your couch, and then this vortex opens up, then you have, that's definitely more convenient. So over time, you develop um, control over when you can create a portal and go through it. And in the mystical awareness and consciousness expansion program that I often lead people through, the state that we try to accomplish is what I call the dreamscape state. In fact, the name of the course that I teach and that I'm offering today is called Dreamscape. And the reason it's called the dreamscape is because the easiest and most common way for people to go into a higher dimensional state is when they're asleep and dreaming. So a lot of the work, a lot of the practice starts with taking control of your dream life in such a way that you become familiar with it, you have control over it, you are able to go into a lucid dream state whenever you'd like and stay there as long as you'd like, do what you need to do, and then come out of it again. And then that begins to spill over into other practices as well. Um, there are countless ways, lots and lots and lots of different ways you can access the higher dimensional experience, that dreamscape state. There are a number of healing systems that tap into it, sometimes not explicitly, but it's there. Because when you're in the dreamscape state, you're in a theta brainwave state. When you're asleep and dreaming, you're in theta. When you're in the theta brainwave state, as you know from theta healing or awakening dynamics or other or hypnosis or other systems that use the theta brainwave state, that's where you have the opportunity to shift things around in your subconscious mind, redirect belief systems, redirect expectations, and get rid of trauma and all sorts of other things. So you can do that with a practitioner. You can also do it by just learning how to lucid dream and starting there as your jumping off point. You can, and all these different ways of doing it support each other over time. So if you become a master of lucid dreaming and then you decide to go do, let's say, an ayahuasca ceremony or something like that, you'll have a much more profound experience in the ayahuasca because you've already learned how to consciously control what's going on while you're in the altered state of consciousness. Or if you do breath work, if you do holotropic breathing, if you do yoga meditation, and so forth, it can all lead you to the same place. Exercises for uh, pineal gland stimulation, definitely super powerful, tends to get talked about a lot, but not really practiced much. But definitely that's one way to get there as well. Um, and Shefali, I have a feeling that you and I have had similar experiences where um, sometimes you you have easy access to mystical awareness and an out of body experience or an otherworldly experience, but it happens spontaneously and you don't have control over it. So you
Yeah.
don't really know what to do there, or when you come out of it, did that really happen? Was that just a chemical imbalance? What's going on? Um, and there have been times, I'm sure I've had, years ago as well, where I had perfect awareness and control as I was in that state. And it was magnificent because what that does when you develop this, it opens up the possibility for you to create what I call a dreamscape playground and a dreamscape workshop. So in the dreamscape state, you're able to um, have magnificent activities, fun stuff. I like to fly, for example. Flying is my favorite thing to do. And usually it's not flying like Superman. Usually it's just kind of hovering over things and looking down. It's just so much fun for me. And there are rules, there are moral things that you need to keep in mind. You don't want to uh, use the dreamscape state in order to force a sexual encounter with somebody against their will, that sort of thing. But that is refreshing to be able to just go into this fantasy world where you can have fun and refresh yourself. It gives you energy to get through the day when you go back to your three-dimensional reality. Now, the Dreamscape workshop that I mentioned, imagine having control over the dream, that altered state of consciousness to the degree where you can practice bowling or practice your layup if you play basketball, or if you have like a set of intuition development exercises that you want to do, you can practice them in the dreamscape. You can do all sorts of different things in the dreamscape. You can troubleshoot things. You can come up with creative solutions to problems that you have. You can, write movie scripts or whatever it is you want to do in that workshop, and then come back into the three-dimensional world and replicate it there. So it's a powerful tool that you can use. Um, and it does sound a little bit like work, but it really isn't. You have boundless energy when you go into that state of being, and it lasts as long as it lasts, but you can accomplish a lot.
I love that. And it kind of reminds me of that the hologram in Star in Star Trek, right? And going into different worlds or creating different scenarios for yourself. And
Mhm.
in I think in like in this instance, for example, you can start to improve certain qualities that you may have, right? You're talking about intuition, etc. But it could be if somebody wants to be like a public speaker and they're nervous, speaking, then they could go into that dreamscape state and practice speaking and feel more confident, for example, right? That's a practical tool, right?
Yeah,
But of course, other things as well. Go ahead.
absolutely. And one of the most powerful uses of it, which is especially emphasized if you do plant medicine or some other system to get into the altered state of consciousness, is to purge trauma and
Mm-hmm.
explore trauma, explore childhood relationships and events and experiences in order to heal the wounds that are left over from your childhood. So, one of the many pathways that I've used to expand consciousness, I've done several ayahuasca ceremonies, and in the early several ceremonies that I did, there was a lot of emphasis on trauma release. And sometimes that involved reliving the trauma. Sometimes it involved reliving the trauma from somebody else's perspective. And other times it just involved letting it dissolve, allowing it to heal. Because a lot of times we are in resistance to our own healing. We get in our own way. The horrible experience that we suffered in childhood that created a wound, in a sense, can define us in our lives. And therefore, we don't want to get rid of it because then we don't know who we are anymore. So a lot of times we hold on to traumas way beyond the point of having learned lessons from them. They don't serve us anymore, and yet a lot of times we don't want to relinquish them. Um, and some of the experiences I've had that have things that I thought defined me as a person, things that I thought I would never get over because they were so horrific in my childhood. It's like I don't even remember them anymore. They just poof, they're gone.
Yeah,
Um, and you can take control of that. It's an awesome place to go.
it's
It's good to
powerful.
go with a guide in those cases, but what that means is that when you go into your dreamscape, you can create a holding area or what I call like a dreamscape vestibule, where all the tools that you need to do whatever it is you need to do are there in that one space, and you always go to it in order to start your adventures. You can invite in guides and ancestors and healers and angels and archangels or whoever to be present in that. It's like a green room where you're
Mhm.
meeting before the journey. So you can have guides with you, even if you're going into the dreamscape state all by yourself through breath work or whatever. You can meet a guide, um, set it up so that there is a guide there waiting for you when you get there, so you don't feel like you're all alone, and therefore it's not so scary to do trauma healing work. Yeah.
So that support is available to you, and you're the one that
Mhm.
creates that support, even.
Yeah, you invite it, and
Yeah,
when you invite it, it comes. So,
yeah.
now, not always. I have had experiences where I wanted help from some sort of celestial being, and the message I got was, "No, this time you're on your own. You
Okay.
need to do this by yourself. If I am there with you, I'll do it for you, and you won't get the benefit." I've been told that many times. Um, but for the most part, there's a wisdom there. They know what's best for you. Your higher self knows what's best for you. And if you could benefit from a guide, it will be allowed. If you are better off without one, you won't feel abandoned. They'll usually give some sort of explanation saying, no, this time I think you should do it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you have the tools and resources as well within you to handle it, to do it, to do the work. So
Yeah.
it's not like you don't have it. Yeah. Yeah, I like that, because it's true. Sometimes, we tend to maybe rely too much on our angels and guides and helpers, and then don't think that we can actually do anything like to help ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes an angel, if you're connected with a spirit guide or something, they'll fire you. You can fire them if you want to, if they're not doing their thing. But a lot of times they know what's in your best interest, and they know that you need to spread your wings at a certain point. You need to spread your own angel wings rather than
Yeah.
get carried constantly by some sort of higher energy that's there to lift you up. Yeah. So it can feel like abandonment. I've had the experience where a guide that I was deeply, deeply connected to, and we had dialogue, we had conversations, just up and vanished one day, and I felt abandoned. But then I realized, no, the work is done. It's time for me to move on my pathway. If we stay connected, it's just going to keep me here rather
Yeah.
than growing over there. So, yeah,
Yeah.
please, if you've ever disconnected or had a guide disconnect from you, don't feel abandoned. It just means that you're ready for something different.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, it is so true. And they're here to support until we get to that point where we can support ourselves, right? So,
Mhm.
so Jeanette is asking a question in the chat. Can you release those traumas fully and easily without the dreamscape state?
Yeah, there are all sorts of ways to release trauma. There, and I'm never going to say that this is the right way to do it and everything else is wrong. That I do light bridge is the way to do it and everything else is wrong. There's talk therapy, there's hypnosis, there's other sorts of regressive therapies. There's sound therapy, there's primal screaming. There are all sorts of ways to release trauma.
Yeah,
And whether they work for you, it depends on you and what your energetic orientation is. So I would never say everyone should do holotropic breath work because some people they're just not ready for it. I would never say everyone should do ayahuasca because it's dangerous for some people. So there are lots of ways to release trauma. Whatever works for you best is fine. Yeah.
absolutely. It's not the only way, Jeanette. There are many, many ways. So Jay has had his hand raised for a long time. Do you want to take a question from Jay?
Yeah,
Let's see what we
absolutely.
can. Jay, you want to unmute yourself? Yes, yes. Hi.
Hi, Patrick. I just found out about you, and thank you, Shefali, for bringing this to us. Great, great information. And I looked at some of the stuff on YouTube, and sounds really, really good. So I was the scapegoat of the family as a kid, and not a great place to be. I noticed that the family dog got love and respect, but I did not, as one of the kids in his family. And so many people have complained that I'm uh, highly sensitive. And it's like you were saying that could be caused by trauma, which I had more than my fair share of. Um, I have a tendency to freeze. So it's like, I'm 72 years old. It's like I want to get on in my life with lots and lots of things. I've been writing two different books, one about the scapegoat and one about narcissistic personality disorder. So I think I have a lot to give, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm just maddening, just really so frustrating. Um, Yeah, and so many healers I've gone to, it's like, it's more about asset extraction than it is about helping others heal. So just I guess I blame myself that I attract people that are just con artists, even though they're in this business and that they're just coming from fear. So
Yeah. Yes, well, yeah, you're absolutely right. There definitely are a lot of con artists out there. There are a lot of scammers. Um, that there are a lot of people who are looking for easy targets. When you develop an energetic pattern that gets imprinted down into the level of identity, when you've been told something over and over again to the point where your subconscious mind begins to wonder, that must be true about me. It's it's all your fault. You're the one who caused this. You're to blame. Um, that even if you consciously reject it on the cognitive level, that um, belief system is still resonating. It's like this little voice that's in the back of your mind whispering to you. Every time you want to take an action, there's that voice that whispers, what am I going to get blamed for? What are the consequences of this? Who is this going to hurt? And how is their pain going to be my fault if I move forward with whatever this project is? So until the trauma's cleared and the triggers are released, those voices can still be back there and you can fight against them. Awareness of them is usually half the equation right there. But until they're gone, the energy of those belief systems, I can't accomplish anything significant in my life because somebody somewhere is going to get hurt. Somebody's going to be offended and they're going to blame me for their problems. And then I am going to be in that scapegoat situation once again. So I think
you know
that's
them?
Mhm.
You know them?
Do
I'm
I
just
know
joking.
them? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So
You're describing them. And one thing that kind of messes with the whole system is like I have a fear of success, and it's greater than I ever knew. I had joined up with another workshop thing, and success was right there for
yeah,
me. And I realized it's like how much I could not do that. And it's
yeah,
because I was psychologically attacked by my
yeah.
family. And, you can throw friends in with the mixture too.
And the way I'm seeing it, there are many reasons, but the primary reason you have fear of success is because success creates consequences, and those consequences will blow up in your face according to the belief systems that you have. So the greater your success, the bigger an impact you have on the world, the greater the probability is that it's going to come back to bite you. And
It's
therefore,
a reaction.
it's better not to have success than it is to live in fear of something that might potentially happen, even if
Yeah,
it's completely a fantasy. So yeah,
the react the reaction is an unknown for me.
yeah,
And so that fear of that gets blown way out of proportion.
yeah. Yeah. So clearing those childhood traumas, and it's more than just letting go of the trauma. There has to be some rewiring done. There has to be something, a new set of belief systems introduced to take the place of what's being eliminated. This is we're talking specifically about you, but this is true in pretty much any type of situation where somebody has a subconscious identity belief that blocks them from doing what they want to do in the world. And I think everyone on the call has something like that in their life. So we would have to install basically a new perspective that says, it's safe for me to have success. uh, if somebody else is offended by my success, that's their problem. It's not mine. And what happens over time is you have an energetic vibration. This gets into that whole issue of creativity that Shefali mentioned right at the beginning. You are a creative force of nature, whether you're consciously being creative or not. You are a force of nature. So every belief system, every thought, every emotion, all of it has an energetic vibrational frequency that radiates out of you. So the energy that you radiate is constantly being reflected back to you. It bounces off of objects in your vicinity and comes back to you. It gets reflected back to you by the universe. So if you have an energetic signal, a frequency inside you basically that says, I'm a target. People blame me for stuff. People scapegoat me for their problems, even though I had nothing to do with it. If that's like a belief at the identity level, what happens is people who are looking for somebody to blame notice you and they gravitate towards you. And after a while, it seems like everyone in the universe is that type of person. But it's not true. It's only a few people, and they're just the people who happen to notice you because your energy matches theirs or it's complementary with theirs. So as you shift your internal energy, those people find you boring after a while. They just kind of disappear from your life. You're not an easy target to them anymore, and they lose interest and move on. And the new people emerge in your life who can take responsibility for their own problems and they don't blame you for things. And
I
then,
teach.
you're free for success.
Sounds good to me. Sign me up, man.
Yeah.
I teach people about or demonstrate uh, divining rods, the L rods,
Mhm.
and I hold them and I'll be like face to face with them, and I say to them, just say the word yes, and the divining rods go out, and then I clear it and I go say the word no, and they go in. So that
Yeah.
clearly demonstrates, that we're all always broadcasting a frequency or energy, you know.
Yeah. Multiple.
So
We're symphonies. We are orchestras. We broadcast, all sorts of different energies at once. Yeah, and you can mold them over time into something that's either harmonic or something that is, not harmonic, something that creates chaos and drama, and pain and suffering. So yeah, yeah.
I'm familiar with those people.
So Jay, just really quick, there's other people in the chat who are also resonating with your question and can really relate to the same situation as you. So I just want you to know that you're also not alone. And so maybe Patrick can give us something that can start to help us to move out of that identity of scapegoat, etc., into something better.
Could I just
Yeah.
make one more statement? I
Sure.
know of a person who is a hypnotherapist, and they're like, 40, 50 pounds overweight. And she said, it's like, so she must be overriding something somewhere. And it's like, and she's not new to this. So she's been probably 30 years in this. It's like, how does that person? And I know that I've tried to create a new identity for myself, and something in me overrides that. And maybe it's just that fear of success. So thank you.
Yeah, that opens up into all sorts of different possibilities there. You just opened a can of worms. But I will say that belief systems that sink down to the level of identity, those, capital letter I am statements that the subconscious mind clings to, those are often the hardest to shift. So, ones that aren't about, I am, things like, it's safe for me to do this, or it's possible for me to do this, or, um, I'm ready for this. Those type of things. They're about you, but they're not really I am statements. They're about the situation that you're in. If you have been abused so much in your lifetime that you subconsciously believe that you are the scapegoat. It's you're the archetypal scapegoat. The story of the scapegoat is the mythology that shapes your life. Those are harder to shift. Um, yeah, and
But they can be shifted. I just
they
want to
can be
say they're
shifted.
harder to
Oh
shift,
yeah,
but
they
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 can be
can
shifted.
they just require a little bit more work, a little bit more willingness to step out into the abyss. Because the thing is, we have reinstallers. We bring back old belief systems because if you eliminate a belief system on the level of identity, I am this, and you cancel out that belief system, then suddenly, who am I? It's uncomfortable not to know who you are. It's if you don't recognize yourself anymore, then it's more comfortable just to bring back an old defining feature. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. But you're right, it's not impossible. It just requires some deeper work. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and there are like all sorts of different um, causes. Trauma is just one of many, many different causes for triggers and belief systems and so forth. A lot of stuff comes from past lives. A lot of it grows out of unfinished business that we have with people, sometimes from previous lifetimes. A lot of it grows out of vows or oaths that we took. Sometimes in previous lifetimes in situations that have nothing to do with where we are today. Um, a lot of people have like an energetic imprint of servitude or indentured servitude or of owing somebody something, even though you don't know what it is. And so you sacrifice yourself on behalf of others, not knowing why you're doing it and resenting them in the process. A lot of that could be tied to a vow of servitude or a vow of poverty from a previous lifetime. So, there's a lot of digging to be done to figure out what the sources are. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you
absolutely.
can do that in the dreamscape with a guide. Yeah.
Awesome. And so, um, we are talking about, expanded consciousness, right? Or expanding our consciousness in the here and now. So, what are, because I don't want to forget this part, what are some techniques that we can use on a regular basis to expand our consciousness? And the reason for the expanding of our consciousness is to create more of that state of higher vibration frequency, more joy, more bliss, more peace, etc., which can, if done consistently and be in that state consistently, can start to affect your those identity beliefs as well. No?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, some things that tend to get overlooked that everyone knows about, everyone knows that these are powerful, and yet we kind of forget about them. Um, Deepening your breath on a regular basis, because when you are not consciously aware of your breathing, a lot of times it can be very shallow. A lot of people breathe very shallowly. And of course, there's that old saying that life is breath. And therefore, if you're only breathing halfway, you're only living halfway. So, um, most of us in this modern world that we live in, we have this little ego thing going on. We want to look good. So we tighten up our bellies, we suck our gut in so we can look a little bit thinner and have a little bit better posture. There are better ways to improve your posture than sucking the gut in. But the consequence of that is you block off or you limit how much air can get down into the lower lungs. So by tightening the belly in order to look better, you're actually training yourself to breathe shallowly, only up in the top portion of the lungs. So we need to untrain that. Habits are ingrained into us, and it takes a lot of practice sometimes to undo a habit. But just consciously forcing yourself to breathe a little bit deeper, if you do that regularly over time, a new habit develops and you begin to breathe more deeply automatically. Why is deep breathing important? Deep breathing or deeper breathing, even if you're not consciously doing it, it soothes the autonomic nervous system. It brings balance to the autonomic nervous system so that your sympathetic nervous system isn't driving you into fear and fight or flight or the rest of it. I think it was Jay who mentioned like freezing up or fainting, or that sometimes happens when the parasympathetic nervous system overcompensates. It gets overstimulated because it's trying to make up for the excess energy that's in the sympathetic, the fight or flight nervous system. And then you freeze, or you even faint. You get that deer in headlight quality. Um, you have action paralysis, in other words. And then that action paralysis defines everything you do in life. You try to write a book, but you have action paralysis, and you only can revise the same paragraph over and over again rather than write something new and fresh. So the deep breathing helps with that. It soothes the autonomic nervous system. It increases energy flow through all of the energy channels in your body. You are a vast energetic matrix. You have thousands of energy channels flowing everywhere, and some of them are blocked and some of them are free flowing. We all know about the chakra or the chakra system, the chakras through the body. Those are actually nexus points where dozens or more energy channels flow together like a subway station, and you get this beautiful kind of vibrant ball of energy where all of these different energy channels converge in different parts of the body. Breath work opens up and lubricates the energy system. You are an electric being, and that helps you sleep better. Everything just kind of supports everything else. So deep breathing is important. We also tend to overlook, we all know the pineal gland is the seat of consciousness, and that if you really want to explode open your consciousness, you need to stimulate and decalcify and liberate the pineal gland. Why is the pineal gland calcified? What is it that causes it to harden up? Well, um, breathing shallowly doesn't help energy flow through it. The diet that we have, especially the Western diet with all sorts of, additives and the complex stuff that's in, we don't have simple foods or whole foods anymore, for the most part. That calcifies the pineal gland. The water that we drink calcifies the pineal gland. The water that we have is fluoridated, and that, the whole point of fluoride is to create a hard shell on your teeth. Well, it gets on your pineal gland as well. A shell around the pineal gland, why is that a problem? Because the core of the pineal gland, the gland itself, needs to vibrate. And it vibrates at a very, very high frequency. And if it's vibrating very powerfully, then you are free to expand your consciousness. But the shell dampens that. It puts like shrink wrap on something that's trying to vibrate, and it makes it vibrate more slowly, and then you get stuck in three-dimensional reality. Um, I would say that a lot of people who have never ever had a higher dimensional experience, that the world that they live in is exclusively three-dimensional and nothing else could possibly exist, that they probably have a severely calcified pineal gland, and therefore they never have that experience. It's stopped from vibrating. Um, so immersion in nature, everyone knows about immersion in nature, but it does calm the mind, and it really does give you an opportunity to open up your senses. So how many times do you say, I'm going to take a stroll through the park, or I'm going to take a walk in nature, and then as you're walking through the park, you're thinking about all the things that you need to do. You're making a mental list of all the tasks that you need to accomplish and the chores and the arguments that you had with this person or that person, and what can you do to improve the situation at work and so forth. A lot of us walk in nature and never actually experience nature. We experience our internal dialogue. So if you can kind of shut that down, it's a form of meditation, and then open up your senses and smell everything that's around you, and see, how the light sparkles through the leaves, and hear the rustling of the leaves, and so forth, kind of attune your senses to what's going on around you. When you inhabit your dreamscape, your physical senses get dialed up into what, in intuition we would call the clairs. You see beyond the physical sight that you have in your eyes, you can see in a new way when you're in the dreamscape. So your clairvoyance comes into play. You might even develop, holographic vision or remote viewing or something while you're in the dreamscape. Um, and you can't really accomplish that if you never allow your senses to just kind of do their thing and feel what's going on around you. So hopefully that makes sense. So
Awesome.
those are three very simple things everyone already knows about: drink and eat better food, breathe, and walk in nature.
Absolutely. Like we all know it, but how many of us are actually doing it on a regular
Mhm.
daily basis, right?
Yeah.
Um, so earlier we were talking about portals, right? So I just want to talk a little bit more about how we can safely access our portal and use that like what is the portal going to be for? How can we use it for our day-to-day life, also to expand our consciousness even more?
Yeah. So the gateway into the higher dimensional realms, I refer to as the portal. So whatever you do to step out of a three-dimensional experience into expanded consciousness, you pass through a threshold of some sort. And that's what I call the portal. Often, what blocks us from passing through the portal or keeps us stuck in the portal, which is a really scary experience. If you're kind of leaving 3D, but then you get stuck in the doorway and you can't move on, that can be horrifying. It's often the ego that stands in the way. Um, some would even say that you need to experience ego death to really truly go into higher dimensional awareness. But ego death doesn't mean that you lose consciousness of yourself as an individual being. It just means that your um, concept of what you are becomes malleable. You don't have these set in stone ideas about who you are and what your importance is and so forth. So the portal is whatever the threshold is between where you are now in three-dimensional reality and higher dimensionality. And there are lots of ways to pass through that portal. What I recommend is doing it so often that you become familiar with the portal itself and you make friends with the portal. And then you create for yourself on the other side of the portal some sort of entry space. So whenever I go into higher dimensional awareness, I pass through this portal. I'm not just going into an abyss somewhere where I don't know what's out there and it's kind of scary. I always pass into a staging area, a vestibule. And in that staging area, I have some tools that I know that I can use in the higher dimensional realm, and then I go wherever I want to go from there. So um, essentially, opening the portal is essentially whatever practice you do to expand your consciousness. And that can be breath work, that can be plant medicine, that can be yoga and meditation, holotropic breath work, any number of different things. Lucid dreaming, I think, is what we all have access to. We all dream, we all sleep. We've all had the experience of a lucid dream. Um, and so I think that's where people should start, or it's probably the most efficient place for people to start and then add other things in from there. So what's the portal when you're lucid dreaming? The portal is um, falling asleep and entering into that dream state. So if you want to really start lucid dreaming, there are a whole number of techniques, technical techniques that you can learn to induce lucid dreaming. But a couple of things that I would recommend: don't expect to lucid dream in the first half of the night. So when we go to sleep, I'm sure all of you have had the experience, you wake up 4 hours into your sleep. It's a really common human thing to sleep a chunk of about 4 hours, wake up for a little bit, and then sleep another chunk of like 3 to 4 hours. Uh, the way the human brain operates when you're sleeping, it front loads the deep sleep that you need in order to nourish your body and refresh your mind. And then most of the dreaming happens in the second half of the night. Now, there's deep sleep late as well. There's dreaming early on. Sometimes I dream even before I fall asleep because I've done it so much. It's really a cool experience, and I love it. Lay down in bed, I'm beginning to drift off, and then boom, I'm in the dreamscape, um, and I can control it from there, like launch directly into a lucid dream. But when you're first starting out, the best way to do the lucid dreaming is to wait until the second half of the night. And when you wake up 4 hours in, just kind of set the intention then and there, I will have control of my dreams. And then there are like 10 or 12 different techniques you can use to actually go into the lucid dream. I don't think I want to go into them all here. Um, but explore that. If you have a belief system that says it's impossible for me to lucid dream, it's possible for other people, but not for me, it's too difficult for me, it's dangerous for me to lucid dream, I don't know how to do it. I don't know what it feels like to do it, or any other number of limiting belief systems about lucid dreaming itself. You can clear those away to make it easier for you to actually do it. Yeah.
So,
So that's
yeah.
called, the subconscious reprogramming. That's the belief sculpting. Um, Sometimes we call that meta healing. So, healing belief systems about healing itself. Yeah,
Hmm.
because yeah,
Okay, cool. I will try that tonight.
yeah,
I'm gonna try that tonight. So now, the last little bit that we want to discuss before we talk about the packages, etc., is how can we be the magic wand? How
oh,
can I be my own magic wand?
yeah, yeah. um, that's a big topic. So remember earlier I said you are a creative force of nature. You
Yeah.
are a force of nature. That when you think your thoughts, inhabit your belief systems, have your expectations, have your emotional energy, your memories of traumatic experiences, and so forth. You are creating your experience in the world through all of that internal activity. Uh, Earlier, I was talking about this transition from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. In the age of Pisces, the way you accomplished things in the world was you manipulated external circumstances. So you moved the chess pieces around on the board in front of you, you competed with other people over limited resources, and so forth. What's happening as we transition into the age of Aquarius is we are becoming more and more aware that we create our experience in the world through our thoughts, our beliefs, our judgments, and our expectations. And if you can take control of your thoughts, beliefs, judgments, and expectations and radiate a specific energy that you want to create in the world, it will manifest in the world around you. So we're shifting away from this using external tools to realizing that we are a tool ourselves internally. We have the power. If we just believe certain things, we create the probability for it in our environment. So a lot of times, as a healer and as a life coach, people come to me and they want me to wave a magic wand and make their problems go away. But they're not really willing to do anything to change whatever it is that created their mess in the first place. So, my husband's cheating on me. Would you wave your magic wand and make him be devoted to me again? It doesn't really work that way. What I want people to realize is you are the magic wand that you have been looking for. And if you can take charge of your power, which is internal, rather than playing the game of moving the external chess pieces around, if you can inhabit your power as it exists at your core and radiate a vibrant energy that matches your desire, then you can change the world. You can change your world. So you are the magic wand.
It's
So
very
yeah,
empowering.
yeah.
Yeah, that's very empowering. And it is a reminder, again, also for us to know that we have that power within us to change our realities,
Yeah.
to create the future that we desire. We just
Yeah.
have to get out of our own way sometimes,
Yeah,
right?
and it can take a long time to really inhabit it. I mean, um, I can talk about it all day, but my car broke down yesterday and that bothered me. So, I still have these three-dimensional experiences. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah.
All right. I'm gonna take a few minutes and talk about the packages and then we'll come back. Okay. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna share my screen. Um, 1 second. I think it's this one. So you should be able to see my screen now. So Patrick has two packages for us. One is the Dreamscape Practical Mysticism online course, and the second one is includes package A plus a private integration session with Patrick. And of course, both packages payment plan is available. And of course, if you are an Inner Circle member, please use your gift code. So the first package A, Dreamscape Practical Mysticism online course. What is included in this course in this package?
Yeah. So I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed by the scope of the course. It's not meant to be like a college level course, but there are 21 elements to it, 21 lectures. So we go into, defining what is practical mysticism, how you create your reality through the way you direct your consciousness and the energy you radiate. The hidden universal harmonic principles, such as the law of attraction, about how energy flows through the universe and how you can take control of that. I talk about the power of doing, the power of being, and then there are practical exercises for expanded consciousness. So that's the first module, the hidden harmonic laws of the universe. The second module for the course is the waking dreamscape state. So, how you can go into a higher state of consciousness while you are consciously aware and awake. So, this involves controlling your brainwave states, understanding the theta brainwave state, using light bridge, which helps you harness the power of the theta brainwave state, how you can unleash your creativity through your theta brainwave state. Talk a little bit about that quest for the magic wand, and then practical exercises for dreamscape consciousness. The third module is on the sleeping dreamscape state, which is where you really get into your power and really get into control of your portal into higher dimensional experiences. So there's a very detailed and rock solid workshop on refreshing sleep, which, even if you don't want to practice anything mystical, everyone needs good sleep, and this will help you get there. What is lucid dreaming? What is lucid living, which is what I refer to as taking the experiences and the power of the lucid dream state into your waking consciousness, and then what to do in your dreamscape playground and what to do in your lucid dreaming workshop, which I mentioned earlier, where you can practice skills. And then the fourth and final module for the course is really just opening up and controlling a portal that is specifically and exclusively yours. How to open your gateway to the beyond, how to manage your mystical vortex and your portal, how to stimulate the pineal gland to go even deeper with this, breath work, which I refer to as spread your angel wings. They've got this, a lot of us are completely locked up in the shoulders and our scapulas are pretty tight and we're not breathing deeply, but the breath work allows you to open those angel wings, and then other portal activators, including plant medicine. And then there are some really awesome surprise bonuses as well. I put a lot of surprise bonuses in this package, and they're all great. So, yeah, that's package one, $111 for that full course.
Mhm.
The course is offered actually through my website, and there's a very, very, what's the word, efficiently created experience for you as somebody taking that course. It's not like you have to download the MP3s and then put them on your phone and listen to them one by one. I have video lectures, audio recordings of each of the video lectures, and then full transcripts of each of the lectures. And then it's all in a really easy to navigate format on the website. And then the package B is that course plus a private session with me in order to really integrate what you've learned in the course. Um, and that's the type of thing you usually, I want to do that integration session after you've taken the course so you can really integrate the material, but you are free to use that session however you wish. So if you want to have a one-on-one session with me before you take the course to work on a certain issue, I'm happy doing that as well.
So can the private session with you help with releasing and traumas and
Yeah. Yeah, we
belief
can
work?
use the
It's
private session as a standard light bridge healing session to go into, whatever it is you want to change in your life today. Or we can use it to deepen your experience of the course. So it's up to you how you want to use it.
awesome. So that is package A and package B. Again, package A is 111, package B is 189. Both have payment plans. And of course, if you're an Inner Circle member, please do use your gift code. Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. Let me go back here. Let me stop sharing. 1 second. Let's see. Hold on. Okay, awesome. Now I was gonna ask you about the lucid living, and I forgot about like because I was gonna ask you what is lucid living? How do we do that?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about that. Sorry, I forgot.
So there are all sorts of ways that you can bring power into your lived experience. Lucid living is just one of those ways. And what I mean by lucid living is when you have had enough experience lucid dreaming, where you consciously have the ability to control what's going on in that dreamscape world, after a while, you're able to bring some of those gifts with you back into waking consciousness. So your intuition can really, blow up into something much bigger. You can begin to develop skills of energy management through your body that allow you to do things that most people physically can't do. I'm not going to say that, in my lucid dreamscape, I love to fly. I'm not saying that in my waking life, I will be able to fly because we are still in this three-dimensional world and subject to the linear time and linear space and law of gravity and all the rest of it. But there is a lot of power that you can bring with you from the lucid dreamscape that gives you control over things in your life. Because, like I said before, you become a master of energy management inside your body. And when you take over, when you take control of what energy you project into the world, then you can really change what's in the world in front of you, you know, within the confines of a three-dimensional world. So yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Now, obviously, when people are going to be doing their personal session with you, I mean, I know you do powerful healing work, activations, light bridge processes, etc. Those are also going to be part of the one-to-one
Yes.
personal session, right?
Yeah. Yeah, whatever you need, whatever tool we need to pull out of the bag for whatever your goal is, we'll definitely do it. And Lightbridge attunements are super powerful. And Lightbridge belief sculpting is really powerful as well. So yeah, we can do all of that. A
Yeah,
lot of times it's just flowing energy too,
yeah,
because people have physical blockages in their body that create aches and pains and little stabbing sensations or arthritis like pain in the joints and so forth. Just opening up the flow of energy through the system can facilitate that.
absolutely. And I just want to remind everyone, in case you have not gotten the gift from Patrick. It is on the gifts page for those of you who have subscribed. It's on the gifts page, and basically, it is a future vision guided meditation, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, oh, I had a lot of fun during the COVID lockdown creating guided meditations. And the future vision guided meditation is one of my absolute favorites because you essentially go into this meditative state, you go into this area that's very akin to that vestibule that I was mentioning, this little staging ground for your meditative activity. And then you're basically free there to create whatever future you want. Yeah, I love that meditation. It's one of my favorites.
Awesome, powerful, powerful. All right. So, is there anything else that you wanted to share with us today? Like a process, activation, healing, light bridge, attunement, etc.
Yeah, I would be happy to do something. Yeah, what do you have in mind? What do you think would be best?
Oh, I don't know.
An
You're the
attunement.
expert.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so
go
we're
with the
going to do a
attunement. I
light
think that'll
bridge
be fun.
attunement. So give me a
Hmm.
second to explain what an attunement is. So it's like an activation, but it's a very special kind of activation. An attunement, every type of attunement that exists basically takes an energetic pattern from a higher source and installs it in you in your egoic persona. So there are angelic attunements, there are higher self attunements, there are ancestor attunements, and so forth. These little doctorcitos that live in nature, Pachamama attunements, and so forth. Whatever higher source you draw information from is going to have its own individual flavor and spin on it. Um, I like to draw information from the higher self because you are your higher self. Your higher self is you without all the baggage that you have. Your higher self is you without the childhood traumas and the limiting belief systems and the sensitivities and the triggers and all the rest of it that make your life, interesting. Yeah. So your higher self is you. You are your higher self. Your higher self knows exactly what you need to do to get from here to there. So I think it is an ideal source to pull blueprints from and install them into your system because it's efficient. Um, and because you are your higher self, they're specifically geared to you. So we're going to do an attunement. Well, what should we do it for? Let's do resilience. Okay, and resilience is the ability to recover quickly after you've had a setback and the um, ability to kind of withstand setbacks without being pulled into them. So when you're resilient, you bounce back. You have energy. Things don't pull you down. Every now and then, like yesterday, my car broke down. Today, I feel fine. So that's resilience. So what we want to do is pull from your higher self a blueprint for resilience and just install it into your system so that you have more energy to do everything that you need to do, even if you have setbacks in your life. So please allow me to connect with you energetically. As I'm connecting with you energetically, you might feel some tingling in the top of your head, or you might feel nothing at all. It's perfectly fine. Please allow me to connect with your higher self through the connection I have with you. And as we open up this connection, I just want to flow a little bit of energy your way, some unconditional love energies that can go wherever it needs to go in your body. Okay. Okay, and now through my connection with your higher self through you, I want to invoke the template or the blueprint of resilience as it is understood and enjoyed by your higher self. I want to take that blueprint and gently install it in you, in your egoic persona. And if there are belief systems or energetic blockages that prevent the absorption or embodiment of this template, this blueprint, I'm going to try to resolve them now. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. So we're installing an energy of being able to gracefully bounce back from setbacks without getting stuck in the blame game, without getting stuck in trying to figure out who's responsible and what you should do about it, just bouncing back, recovering quickly from a setback. Beautiful, with grace and ease. Okay, beautiful. Now, everyone take a deep breath and hold it for a moment. Oh, release when you're ready. Wow. I always get hit with yawns when energy is flowing. Okay, and you may feel a little bit lightheaded now or a little bit dizzy. Please ground yourself if that's the case in whatever way you like the most. And let's come back into consciousness. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, how's everyone feeling?
My goodness, I was yawning before we started, and then
Yeah.
during the whole thing, and still yawning. So yeah, that was definitely powerful. My goodness, I definitely felt the tingling when you mentioned it. But I'm still yawning. So yeah, how is everyone doing? Oh goodness, that was great. Jeanette said,
Wow.
yeah, that was
I
great,
always get
and
these full body yawns.
yeah,
These like
exactly.
intense full body yawns, or it feels like my eyes are going to pop out. It's yeah, yeah,
Exactly. And of course, drink some water, walk around, go
hmm
outside.
yeah,
But yeah, those yawns, those, the yawning is energy shifting, energy moving, right?
yes, yeah.
Which is
To
a
me,
good
it's
thing.
always a signal that the energy is connecting as well. Because if I start yawning when I'm working with somebody, it gives me an indication not just that energy is moving, but they're actually absorbing it. So
Mhm.
I use it as a
Okay.
diagnostic as well.
Awesome. Good, good, good. Some of you might be feeling a little pressure, behind your eyes too, right? So that's okay. That's
Yeah.
what I'm feeling. So it's like some of you are also feeling that. So
Yeah. And that was
so it
just what
happens.
a 2-minute taste. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, all right. Gail says tingling in my shoulders, but head feels clearer. Good. Awesome. Well, I think my head is slowly starting to clear as well as the yawning starts to settle down. As it's as I'm integrating, right?
Yeah.
And integrating the energy, integrating the resilience.
hmm Yeah.
Absolutely
And
wonderful.
I do want to stress that the integration process does not need to be a painful thing. I know that there are teachers out there who say that whenever energy integrates, it creates like flu-like symptoms or something in your system. It can, but it doesn't
Yeah,
have to.
yeah,
Um, Years ago, whenever I would have um, a DNA activation, which of course targets the pineal gland, I would get like a bad headache. And sometimes I'd even get a migraine headache. And then after a while, I realized that it was completely unnecessary for me to have that headache. I was only indulging in the headache to prove to myself that there had been a DNA activation. So it was like
yeah,
an ego thing for me. So you don't need the flu-like symptoms necessarily. Sometimes it happens, but it's not an essential part of energy integration.
Think it was common back in the day, like 20 years ago, but now it's not so much. It's not as
Yeah, yeah,
prevalent.
people
And I
have
think,
drifted away from that.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I was the same way too. It's like I needed proof that something was happening, right?
yeah,
So I would feel things in my body and stuff, right? It's like, yes, there's something happening, right? But all that has like now it's much easier. And I think because we have received so many activations, healings, etc., our bodies are also getting used to it,
hmm
right? To the receiving of it. So we don't have as many of those flu-like symptoms, thank goodness. Good. So everyone's doing good. All right. Any any last words of wisdom, Patrick? I think you just gave some. Anything else you want to share, wisdom wise?
Well, oh gosh, there's so many things I could say, and I don't want to go down into any rabbit holes, but I think it may sound trite, but believe in yourself is incredibly important. A lot of us are heavily laden with belief systems that tell us that we're just not quite good enough, that things work for other people, but not for us, that we're not quite worthy of the success that we're really desirous of. So believe in yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Believe in yourself and continue to take action, consistently do things for sure, but definitely believe in the possibilities and the potential that you do have. Sometimes I have to remind myself of things I've done in the past. It's like, yes,
Yeah.
if I can do this, of course I can do this, right? Because sometimes, it comes up, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, of
And
course I can.
you hit the nail on the head there about taking action because you can do energy clearing all day long, but nothing really happens unless you take action to make it happen. So it's more than just getting into a state of mind that feels powerful. You actually have to utilize your power in order to create what you desire in the world. It can happen spontaneously, but usually it doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And of course, if you'd like to work with Patrick more, please do check out the packages A and B. And of course, if you are an Inner Circle member, please use your gift code as well. Thank you for the wonderful questions, comments, and feedback in the chat. And thank you, Jay, for your question because that was so relevant for so many of us. So
Mhm.
thank you. But
Yeah,
yes,
thank you.
it's possible. It's possible to change identity beliefs. Absolutely. Um, and it just may take a little bit of work, a little bit of digging, a little bit of action, a little bit of healing, and all that wonderful stuff. But yes, it's definitely possible. We are here to enjoy our lives. We are here to create, and we are here to do it through our connection with spirit, to our higher self, source, God, etc. Right? So we are here to do both, right? So
Yeah.
thank you, Patrick. This was awesome, wonderful, so much wonderful wisdom. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm looking forward to that dreamscape um portal, etc. And just to see how we can use the lucid dreaming or use the dreamscape to start to begin to change our reality, our beliefs, our fears, our traumas, etc., so that we can continue to make an impact in the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're back.
Yeah. It feels good to be here. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. Until next time, may you continue to be blessed with an abundance of joy, peace, love, happiness, prosperity, and radiant health. Sending you all so much love and blessings. Bye for now. Have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.